I'd like to call this meeting to order. Welcome here. Council, today I have opening, and as I was thinking of what to say for opening, I was reminded of our last weekend away in Toronto, Ontario. And FCMs are FCMs, but I felt that this last one was probably one of the best ones for me as far as team building went. FCMs are pretty much the same. They've got workshops and lousy food and, you know, just things like that to draw you back all the time. But the networking was great. But the internal team building that we did as a council, I think is second to none in this one. And as I was flying back from Toronto, I was reading a book, but I kept reflecting on the trip and the things we did together, and I found more and more reasons to appreciate each and every one of you. And I just want to, life is short and I don't want to leave things unsaid, so I just want to tell you some of the things I appreciate about each one of you. I'll start with Councillor Damien Pinner. Councillor Pinner, I really, through COVID, as a council, we didn't really get together. We couldn't get together at times, and so I felt maybe we drifted apart, but I felt like we got really close together again during FCM, and some of the stories you told and things we talked about really impressed me. And one thing that impresses me is what you do in our community and how you use your business to help organizations, non-for-profit, school organizations to raise money. And you bring the price of your products so low so that there's value in them for them to raise money. And that in that way you give back to our community through your business, but you also give back to your community through being on council. You're a very intelligent young man, and I like the feedback I get from you, and that's why sometimes I call you randomly and ask for your opinion, because I value your opinion and I like to see your perspective. Being the youngest one on council, don't ever let that get in the way, because you're a very intelligent young man and you have great ideas and they need to be told. Thank you. Councillor Hebert, very generous man, and I appreciate your generosity. You're often giving. I see you in the neighborhood. We are neighbors. I see you in the neighborhood helping and working for your neighbors, and that's how you give back to your community at large. But you also give back to your community through the things you do on the boards that I put you on, and one of the boards is the watershed district. And I'm amazed that in the last term you got a job done that we were talking about 12 years ago when I was on that board. No one else could get it done, but you got it done. The water detention at the museum, and that was a project we all had our eye on. You got it done, and that's working for your community and taking care of the drainage concerns in your community. And I thank you for your giving heart, your generosity, and for how hard you work on the boards that we put you on.
Thank you.
Councillor Swagstra, or Michael as I always refer to you. You have been an excellent deputy mayor. I thank you for the countless times we've got together separately, and you wrote letters making me sound like I knew what I was doing with a pen, and those letters went to the province, and I think those letters put Steinbach in a good position. And I thank you for what you do on the advisory, the RCP advisory board, and the great things that have happened out of that. Also, I appreciate the way you give back to the community through working on boards and your administration. You are a gifted administrator and leader, and you show that in the boards that you work on and how you give back to our community, and that inspires me as well. On this side, Councillor Hebert, you're another one with a very generous heart, and you work hard. You're a peacemaker. Wherever you go, you bring opposite sides together. And that's a quality needed in the job we're in. And I thank you for what you've done. And every task I've given you, you've done wholeheartedly and you've done well. And you've completed them. And for example, you were on the event center board with myself and Councillor Swagstra, and look what we're building now. So it's one for the check mark list. And very, very thankful for you. You became a great friend. And I like our coffees and our talks together, and looking forward to so much more of that going forward. Thank you for the way you give back to your community as well.
Thank you.
Councillor Siemens. Jake, do you remember back when I got elected as council, you took me, in 2010, you took me under your wing and you showed me how to read an agenda and organize my thoughts, and you coached me through meetings. And I'm going to ask you this question. Did you ever for once think you were coaching the next mayor?
No.
Probably not. Right?
No.
Jake, you've been a friend before council. Our time transcends council. We've done some pretty funny things, even loading up a pig and cooking it in Calgary.
Yeah.
But those are memories, and I'm so thankful that you're in my life. I'm so glad I have you here. You represent our city so well in everything that you do. And I love your love for history. And that is what has always admired me about you, is just the stuff you know about Steinbach. And we should probably get you a shirt that says you know stuff.
Yeah.
Because you really do. You know so much about Steinbach, and I fear that those stories are going to be gone. I would really like to see them all written down so that we can save them and save them for the next generation. I saved Councillor Penner for last. And the reason I did that, not that she's any least, but she's the lone woman on council. She's the only mother on council. And when I text her, talk to her, and she's like, I'll phone you in a minute, I'm just dropping one of my kids off. Like, I can't believe, I think I'm a busy person, but I think she's busier than I am. And not only does she give to her community, but as a mom, she's always giving to her children. And what I admire about her so much is what she does in our community and brings awareness to life. She's on Life Cultures. She's the executive director for that. And she works very hard to validate life, right from conception to last breath at old age. And I really appreciate that about her and what she's done and how she's brought that organization to where it is today. And it's just a joy to know her. It's a joy to know all of you, and it's a joy to work with you. And I'm so glad that in my heart I can call you friend. And I think that's, council, if you look at last term, we got all our promises done, either finished or they were in process. And I think that is because of our commitment to work together and our commitment for our community. I'm so proud to be on council with you guys, and I'm so glad that your hearts are in it for Steinbach. Thank you very much. Council, we have the agenda in front of us, looking for a motion to adopt. Councillor Penner, second by Councillor Hebert. Call for the question. All in favor? Opposed? That is carried. Council, we have the minutes of May 16th, 2023, regular council meeting in front of us. We've all had an opportunity to look them over, looking for a motion to approve. Councillor Swagstra, second by Councillor Hebert. Any comments?
No.
Call for the question. All those in favor? That is carried. Is there any business arising from the minutes? Okay, at this time, I would like to have a motion to excuse Councillor Penner Councillor Penner is actually doing a mom duty today. It was so funny, I got a text today at about 6 o'clock, 6:15. It's her son's spring program, and she even joked about always being on top of everything, and then she gave me this funny face, this emoji. I think she forgot about it, but I just told her we'd excuse her and go be a mom, okay? But looking for a motion, Damien Penner, or Councillor Penner, second by Councillor Hebert. Any comments?
Hope she enjoys it.
Call for the question, all those in favor? That is carried. We have no public hearings, no delegations, no reports and recommendations of the city manager, so we will go to 9A, administration, accounts payable. At the back of the book, we've all had a chance to review, looking for a motion to approve. Councillor Hebert, second by Councillor Schweitzer. Any comments?
No comment.
Call for the question, all those in favor? Opposed, that is carried. We got more fun stuff. We got the financial statements ending January 31st, 2023. That's also in the back of the book, looking for a motion to approve. Councillor Penner, second by Councillor Siemens. Any comments?
No comments?
Call for the question. All those in favor? Opposed, that is carried. 9C, the financial statements entering February 28th, 2023. Councillor Hebert, second by Councillor Swagstra.
No comments.
Call for the question. All those in favor? That is carried. 9D, we got the financial statements ending March 31st, 2023. Looking for a motion, Councillor Hebert, second by Councillor Siemens. No comments.
More administration.
Call for the question. All those in favor? Last one, 9E, financial statements ending April 30th, 2023. Looking for Councillor Siemens, second by Councillor Penner. Call for the question. All those in favor? Opposed, that is carried. 9F, we got excavator license, that's on page 3. Looking for a motion to approve.
He wants.
Councillor Hebert. Second by
Oh.
Councillor Siemens. Any comments?
I'll make a comment. I think we should give Mr. Michael O'Brien the go-ahead to use his excavator.
Here, here.
Thank you.
Well said. Call for the question. All those in favor? Opposed, that is carried. Okay, 9G, we got Reid and Miller Chartered Professional Accountants Incorporated. This is the 2022 Audit Financial Report, page 4. Mr. Workteam, would you like to introduce this file?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, members of council. The city's 2022 audited financial statements are presented for council's consideration and formal approval. These have had no changes since preliminary review that council had with the city's auditor several weeks ago. Just again to point out a few of the highlights for the 2022 year, the city completed its fiscal year with a surplus of $7.1 million, of which $3.3 million were from contributed infrastructure from new development within the city, along with operations and activities during the year. The city also added just over $12 million of tangible capital assets to the community. With respect to the city's reserve funds, the city was also able to increase its overall balance in its dedicated reserve funds of just over $4.5 million to reach a total of $38.7 million at the end of the year for use for future projects and capital acquisitions. Recommendation from administration is that City Council approve the statements as presented.
Thank you, Mr. Workteam. Council, how would you like to proceed? Councillor Swagstra?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'll make the motion to approve.
Do we have a seconder? Second by Councillor Hebert. Go ahead, Councillor.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This is an audit that takes place every year, and what we see pretty clearly is that in all ways, in terms of our assets and our reserves and our revenue and all that, we are in a solid financial position as a city. That's been confirmed year after year. And the format here, of course, is a little different than the standard format we see elsewhere. This is the Public Sector Accounting Board. standards, and so that's why the numbers look a little different than in our regular budget, but this is a format we need to put it in, so that way it's more comparable from municipality to municipality. But this is something that we get done every year, and I'm very pleased that we continue to be in a strong fiscal position.
Thank you, Councillor Schweitzer. Any other comments?
Yes, I'd just like to compliment the administration. Council spoke to the auditor, and he had nothing but positive comments and the working relationship he had with our administration. So from council, thank you to administration.
Thank you. Anything further of council? Anything closing? Yes, council, once again, the audited report shows that Steinbach is very healthy and very financially solid. So looking for a motion to approve. Or, sorry, I'm already voting. I'm already a vote. Motion to approve?
Motion to approve.
Okay.
Oh,
no, wait a minute.
We're voting on.
I'm confused. Sorry,
Call for the
guys.
question.
Call for the question. All those in favor? There we go.
We're tutoring.
Yeah, I'm just, I'm ahead of myself.
You need more coaching.
Sorry?
Need more coaching.
Yes. I'm free Thursday night. 9H, subdivision 445120238822. This is referring to 41, 45, 49, and 55 Market Boulevard. This is needed by resolution. Mr. Worthing, could you please introduce this file?
Mr. Mayor, subdivision file 4451-2023-8820 is being applied for by Mr. Jack Kaler, the registered owner of the subject property being Reimer Agencies Ltd. Purpose of the subdivision application is to create 4 parcels from an existing parcel of land that presently exists within a larger parcel plan of mixed-use development next to PTH 12 North in Steinbach, known as Millbrook Market. The existing parcel is approximately 4 acres, with the proposed subdivision seeking to create 4 parcels of approximately 1 acre each. The original intended land uses pursuant to secondary plan bylaw 2136 remain unchanged. However, an updated lot grading and servicing plan would be required for the revision. Recommendation from administration is to approve the application for subdivision subject to an updated lot grading plan being provided.
Thank you, Mr. Worthing. Council, how would you like to proceed? Councilor Schweitzer?
I'll make the motion to approve.
Do it. Council, second by Councilor Penner. Go ahead, Councilor.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This is, looks like a good development. It makes sense to approve the subdivision. This will, of course, create 4 individual commercial mixed-use lots in the Millbrook area. This is obviously an area we're looking forward to seeing more development in. Our staff are recommending approval. They're not seeing any problems with this here, so it makes sense for us to let it go ahead.
Anything further?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This is the ideal use of that new CMX commercial mixed use, where we're going to be seeing 4 new lots of assumed RMD coming in, a little bit more density with amenities nearby, which is something that I think our citizens are really going to appreciate. So I don't see any reason why to not pass the subdivision.
Thank you, Councilor Penner. Anything further of council? Anything in closing?
Nope.
We'll call for the question. All those in favor? Opposed? That is carried. We have 9I. This is subdivision 4451-2023-8813. This is referring to 68 Brandt Street. This will be a subdivision taken care of by resolution. Mr. Worthing, could you please introduce this file? This file starts on page 77.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Subdivision file 4451-2023-8813 for 68 Brandt Street is a residential subdivision application. The applicants are Greg and Rochelle Lepke, who are also the registered owners. The purpose of the application for the subdivision is seeking to create 1 new residential lot with the residual lot to retain an existing single-family dwelling. The new lot to be created would be vacant land. The subject property is designated as residential under the city's official community plan, and the subject property is zoned as residential single-family, or RSF. The proposed lot would have a frontage of 31.5 feet. with a depth of 160 feet or approximately 1/10 of an acre. The proposed lot would meet the minimum dimensional requirements of the RSF zone. Administration does recommend that council consider the long-term impacts of the proposed subdivision in relation to established policy and the anticipated future needs of the area. Particular note is the city's official community plan, which notes that one of the objectives of the residential policies is to maintain and enhance existing neighborhood stability and quality, noting under 2.1.3 of the plan, infill development shall be generally compatible and consistent with the existing neighborhood in terms of setback, height, and character. With respect to the application, there's also been a report that's been provided by Community and Regional Planning. And Community Planning notes that surrounding lots are not of similar size or nature to this proposal. The proposed lot requires that a new private access driveway be created. And finally, with their reference to the city's official community plan policies 3.2.2 and 3.2.3 indicates that maintaining that access, including driveway approaches, should be limited and/or restricted where possible, given its location next to a 4-lane stretch of PTH 12 in Steinbach. It also goes on to state there are no provincial concerns with this proposal. However, council is reminded that PTH 12 is a major thoroughfare whereby access should be limited. Therefore, council may reject this application based on its need for a new driveway. One final comment that I would like to point out to council is that there is a precedent referencing from subdivision file 445120064281 for 65 and 67 Brandt Street in Steinbach. This was a 2006 subdivision, which is pretty much directly across the street from the subject property. At that time, the proposal was to create 2 new residential lots from and leaving an existing residual lot containing the original house. City Council at that time did approve that subdivision. However, conditions applicable to the approval required that only a shared approach was permitted to Brandt Street. No new approaches were permitted. Also of note, all lots created under that file were at least 1/3 of an acre in size. And therefore, given the report commentary and subject to city policy, it is a consideration from administration that the recommendation be that council consider denial for the application.
Thank you, Mr. Orkney. Council, how would you like to proceed? Councilor Siemens?
I'll make the motion to deny, see where it goes.
Do we have a seconder? Councilor Hebert? Go ahead, Councilor Siemens.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I looked at this as well, and I think we need to deny this application. It also states in our administration report we need to provide reasoning. Here's my reasons why I think we should deny it. Currently, all lots along that portion of Brandt Street on either side are between 82 and 120 feet, 25 feet wide. By allowing a smaller lot that doesn't conform, fit in, it also doesn't fit into our infill policy. It was read earlier, but our infill policy states infill development shall generally be generally compatible and consistent with the existing neighborhood in terms of setback, height, and character. This lot is only 31.5 feet wide, and it doesn't meet, in my opinion, it doesn't meet the terms of our infill policy. Highways has not approved a driveway in that area. It needs to get by a council first in order for it to get a proposal or to put a request to Highways to put in another driveway application. In the mid-1970s, when these lots were considered, the comments made at council at that time were they were estate lots, which would be large, and Highways would not let individual driveways exist. They had to be shared driveways, and that continued with the precedent set across the street, or the indication from administration. But those lots were divided, but they all shared a driveway, so there was no additional driveway. And this on a 31.5-foot lot would mean a small space. And one of the reasons they wanted a shared driveway so that you could drive onto the street, you didn't back onto the highway. My concern here is if we allowed, and highways would allow a driveway, we would potentially allow residential to back onto a major highway through Steinbach, being Brandt Road. Another reason is the long-term aspect of this proposal. The current homes in that area are all a similar age and will all generally age out together. A new home might detract from a potential land investor putting a large lot together for a future commercial development. Currently, we have no plans, long-term plans for that area, so it is zoned residential. And we've talked about it various times. We've always agreed to leave it as residential because we do not have a firm plan what we want to do. By approving this, we could handicap future councils from putting a long-term plan in place or working together with a potential developer to do that. So for all those reasons, I think we should deny.
Thank you, Councillor Siemens. Anything further, Councillor Hebert?
I too agree with the concerns stated by Councillor Siemens. This lot is 31.5 feet wide. It doesn't fit into the neighborhood as indicated by Councillor Siemens. The other lots in that area are 82 to 120 feet wide. Other lots are larger and it just doesn't fit into the neighborhood. It doesn't make sense for council at this time to make such a great variance to that area. And as indicated regarding the driveway, whether it's backing onto the street or not, it's another driveway on a very busy 4-lane highway. And so because of my concerns, I can't agree to this.
Thank you. Anything further of council? Anything in closing?
No, sir.
Well, council, I'll call for the question. All those in favor of denying? Opposed? That is carried. That subdivision is denied. We have 9J, bylaw 2211, OCP Amendment. This is referring to southwest quarter 176 EPM. This is third reading. Mr. Worthing, could you please introduce this file?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, members of council. Bylaw 2211 was initiated in the summer of 2022 with a public hearing held in September 6th of last year. It was an official community plan amendment to revise the designated land use from residential policy area to commercial policy area for a property located at the corner of Old Tom Road and Lowen Boulevard in Steinbach. The OCP amendment was referred to the Minister's Office for consideration and approval. That approval has now been provided, as is shown in the agenda package. And recommendation from administration is for council to give bylaw 2211 third reading.
Thank you, Mr. Worthing. Council, how would you like to proceed? Councillor Swagstra?
Motion to approve third reading.
Second by Councillor Hebert. Go ahead, Councillor.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This is, as noted, third reading in regards to amending our official community plan, and we need to do this in order to be able to give third reading to the rezoning change. In this particular case here, this is changing it from residential policy area to commercial area because the intent is to allow a rezoning to commercial mixed use. As our staff have noted in the information here, this appears to be having commercial here is a good fit for the area. You've got a number of, you've got the Stonebridge Medical Center, Red River Campus, all that sort of in the area there, so it makes sense to change this to commercial, so that way the rezoning can proceed.
Thank you. Anything further?
No further comment.
Anything further of council? Anything in closing? Call for the question. All those in favor? Opposed? That is carried. We'll be on 9K. This is bylaw 2212. This is a rezoning for the same property. This is also third reading. Mr. Worthing, could you please introduce this file?
Members of council, bylaw 2212, as you mentioned, Mr. Mayor, is related to the bylaw that council just considered. However, this particular bylaw is a rezoning that's related to that same property at the corner of Lowen Boulevard and Old Tom Road in Steinbach. The application seeks to rezone a portion of that subject property from DR1, which is Development Reserve 1, to CMX, Commercial Mixed Use, under the City of Steinbach zoning bylaw 2100. This revision in zoning would permit commercial uses to be developed along with residential uses on this property, which is ultimately intended to be a proposed multi-phase development. Along with the third reading that was just passed for bylaw 2211. Bylaw 2212 may now be given third reading, and recommendation is that it be done subject to a development agreement.
Thank you, Mr. Orting. Council, how would you like to proceed? Councilor Penner,
Motion to approve.
second by Councilor Spicer. Go ahead, Councilor.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This is part of the larger development that is on the corner of, wanting to go forward on the corner of Old Tom Road and Lowen Boulevard East. It's good to see that the city is moving in the eastern direction. I know we've had a lot of development on the west side and continue to have more, but it's nice to see the city move in other directions as well. And to change this to commercial mixed use, which we have seen is being used at quite attractive form in Millbrook Market. And I hope that it will continue to be an attractive zoning in that area as well.
Thank you. Anything further?
Just thanks, Mr. Mayor. I agree with Councillor Penner. I really like the planned development for this area. Commercial mixed use is a good zoning category, and we're seeing it put to good use within the city. So I look forward to seeing this go ahead.
Thank you, Councilor Spicer. Anything further? Anything in closing?
Nothing further.
Yes, Council, I too, I think this is a great area of our city to develop next. It's the eastern edge, and I definitely think it's high time for development there. I think this is a development that can take advantage of the trunk line that we put in there on from Walnut to Old Tom. I think this is kind of what we expected, because we were putting that in anticipation for this development. Call for the question. All those in favor? Opposed? That is carried. Got 9L. This is bylaw 2213. This is rezoning. It's also tied to this property. Mr. Orkney, would you please introduce this file?
Mr. Mayor and members of council, this is the last bylaw related to this particular phase of the development. Bylaw 2213 is also related. However, it deals with a rezoning for the remaining portion of phase one and part of a future phase for the existing parcel. And it seeks to rezone the land from DR1, Development Reserve 1, to a variety of parcels consisting of RSF, being residential single family, RLD, residential low density, and RHD, residential high density. And again, these zoning changes are being proposed as part of a multi-phase residential development. Also, recommendation from administration is that council give this bylaw third reading, subject to a development agreement.
Thank you, Mr. Worthing. So just to clarify, we're rezoning from DR1 to these, all three of these categories in accordance to where they are on this map?
That's correct. The color shaded map is provided on page 131 of your agenda package.
Okay, thank you. Council, would you like to proceed? Councilor Siemens?
Motion to approve.
Second by Councilor Hebert. Go ahead, Councilor Siemens.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. When we hold land in reserve and development reserve, it's DR1, which means reserve, it's held in reserve, and then the developer comes to us with a plan, and this is to approve a plan. And so this is the third reading on this plan, where we are moving it from Development Reserve 1 to residential single-family, residential low-density, and residential high-density as pertained in the map. So all parcels are being rezoned as part of a multi-phase residential development in that same area that we've just talked about. The other two applications, this is on the east, the northeast side of Steinbach, which we are excited to have more development in that area. And we extended, as stated earlier, we extended the sewer into that area so that it would complement. They would be able to do more development in that area. So We need to approve this so they can start to move forward. I know there's lots of underground work that needs to be done in order for this to happen. So if we approve this, that gives them the opportunity then to go ahead.
Thank you, Councillor Steams. Anything further?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I think this rezoning makes sense, and I look forward to this development being done. The creek flowing through, I think it's going to be one of the nicest looking developments in the area. So yeah, I'm in favor of this rezoning, for sure.
Thank you. Anything further of council? Anything in closing? Call for the question. All those in favor? Opposed? That is carried. Council, are there any questions of council at this time? Councillor Schweitzer.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I have a question for the city manager. And obviously, we're well into spring, and one of the things we see during spring is we see weeds, dandelions in particular. We've lobbied for many years asking the province to lift the ban on cosmetic pesticides, and some changes have been made to that so that they are allowed in more public areas than they were before. And so I'm just asking, can you confirm that we are making full use of the products that are now available to us, and just give us a general summary of where these products are being used?
Thank you, Councillor Swagstra. I was hoping I could just answer yes. But I can confirm the city with the revisions to provincial laws and the requirements as to what is permitted related to the application of cosmetic pesticides. The city has resumed its weed control program, similar to what was the case prior to the original pesticide ban in 2015. Subject to the limitations that the province has approved, our departments in charge of that work are applying the appropriate chemicals in areas where they're able to, and from my understanding, that program is well underway.
Good, thank you.
Thank you. That's good. Any other questions of council? Okay, seeing none, we'll move on. We'll move on to 11A, correspondence and petitions. This AMM district meeting resolution referring to Manitoba Building Sustainable Communities. Council, the City of Winkler is moving forward on the Building Sustainable Communities funding. And what is present now, what is the policy that the municipalities have to come up with 10% of non-government funding for that's a piece of the criteria in order to receive the grant funding for the Building Sustainable Community Program. Many municipalities in our province are having great difficulty achieving this 10%. And so what they're asking is if we would come along board. There's a resolution that you've all been able to read in our agenda package. They're hoping that we will adopt this with a motion and come on as supporters to go forward with AMM on. How would you like to proceed? Councillor Schweitzer?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'll make a motion for us to officially approve sponsoring this resolution at AMM.
Second by Councillor Penner. Go ahead, Councillor.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. As you noted in your initial comments, one of the challenges is that in order to access this funding from the province, that municipalities have to put up 10% in non-government funding sources, which can be challenging. We're very fortunate in the city of Steinbach that this has been one of our strengths in terms of getting private donors. Not all municipalities have the same access to resources and the same types of funds available. And I think out of a matter of principle that we as a city should be in favor of reducing the strings attached to funding for important municipal projects. And so I fully support our fellow municipalities in making this request, because we want to make it as easy as possible to access these funds, because these are for important municipal projects. So I certainly hope that we can support this and AMM will adopt it.
Thank you, Councillor Schweitzer. Anything further, Councillor Penner?
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. This is a very clear and concise resolution that the City of Winkler is bringing forward to AMM. They have a clear ask and a clear a clear background as to why they feel AMM should be lobbying the province on this. And I agree with everything that Councillor Zwags just said. We, as well as the City of Winkler, are both very blessed communities to have lots of private sponsorship for community infrastructure, but when you're talking municipalities that only have a couple thousand individuals in them, they're not necessarily in the same situation. So on behalf of all municipalities in Manitoba, I think this is a good direction to try and lobby the province for municipal funding.
Thank you, Councillor Penner. Anything further of council? Anything in closing? Yes, Council, I too agree. I think this is where this is where we can build relationship with other communities, other municipalities in our province and work together to make it easier and level the playing field for all so that it's fair and equitable and that projects can go forward whether there's a few thousand people in the municipality or 20,000 people in the municipality. I think that this would make it easier for smaller municipalities to get the job done. Call for the question. All those in favor? Opposed? That is carried. Okay, we have 11B. This is AMM District Meeting Resolution. It's on page 136. It's fair allocation to the cost of policing. Council, how would you like to proceed? Just take it as information at this time. Okay, and Council, we have another AMM District Resolution, this is 11C. This is downloading of emergency medical service responsibilities resolution. Council, I just want to introduce this and say this is something that's become a challenge in our city. Our paid on-call firefighters are being called to help with lift assist when that is the responsibility of our regional health authority and our EMS workers. When you look at a city like ours and you look at the burden that is on our volunteer fire department, our paid on call, they're going to plus or minus 300 calls a year. That's basically one a day. And then to be called out in any hour of the night to help with a lift assist, it's very taxing on them. We have to remember they all have jobs too. They all work somewhere else for a living and they volunteer and give back to their community through the fire department. And so I think this is an important resolution to bring forward for AMM to bring forward on our behalf to reduce the calls, the lift assist calls, and to put them back on the burden of the health authority where they belong. But Council, how would you like to proceed? Councillor Schweitzer?
I'll make a motion that we sponsor this resolution as well.
Second by Councillor Stevens. Go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. As you had noted in your opening comments, this is a problem of provincial responsibilities, in this case healthcare, being downloaded to municipalities. We need to do whatever we can to protect our municipal services, and our fire department does a lot of important work in our city, and they are busy enough dealing with emergency calls within the city, dealing with fire calls, and where you have this creep, where this additional work that they're being asked to do, which is a provincial responsibility, it creates a strain on our firefighters. And so I fully agree that we need to be sending a clear message to the province that we expect the health care to be provided by the province, by the health authority, as opposed to the municipality.
Thank you, Councillor Schweitzer. Anything further, Councillor Stevens?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I think it was said correctly too, but my understanding is that the lift assist we used to be the last call, and when there was nobody else to call, and so we would get 8 or 9 times a year that we would be called in to help. Now it's a lot more frequently than that, and it seems to be getting worse. Now we're becoming the first call, and we're not getting paid for it. That's not the issue, and we want to make sure that our residents are taken care of as well. We want to be all part of that, but ultimately our fire department's there to fight fires. And I think the fire chief brought it up to city council as well, and he had concerns about the amount of calls that they were getting. So it is, I think, important that, and it's not only in our municipality, it's in all the municipalities where this is taking place. So I know the healthcare is under stress, different areas, and certainly there to help, but I believe the right thing to do would be to put this forward to AMM to alert the province that we need to remedy this.
Thank you, Councillor Siemens. Anything further, Councillor? Anything in closing? Yes, Council, actually, Councillor Siemens brought something back to my memory. He is correct. We were the last call for many, many years. There was somewhere between 1 and 3 for most years. But lately it's been creeping up to where we're probably on target for, up to 40, 50, 60 this year. And that's just too many, yes, our fire chief has brought up to council, and they're just busy enough as it is. And these are the type of men and women, okay, that when the phone rings, when their beeper goes off, they don't ask who or why or what, they just go. So these firefighters, our firefighters, men and women, they will just go if they get called. It doesn't matter how many times they get called, they go. But that's why this is a call that technically shouldn't be our jurisdiction. And that's why I think that as council, we should support this and hopefully save the firefighters across our province from having to do this, that are already taxed, by saving their people. Call for the question. All those in favor? Opposed? That is carried. Okay, council, we have, under other business, we have one item, library board appointment. Just recently, we lost one of our library board. I believe his name was Chris. He's moved out of province. And so that left a hole, so we looked all over our city and we found one willing man, and we all know him well. He has volunteered for many years on COPP, and I think he's also the pastor of the Steinbach Mennonite Brethren Church. Wonderful man. I've known him for many years. We've had many good conversations. I think he'll do a great job. His name is Walter Fast. I'm just looking for a motion, please, to approve him, and then he'll belong to Bill Hebert after that. Councillor Hebert?
Motion to approve them to the board.
Councillor Hebert. Okay, call for the question. All's in favor? Opposed? That is carried. Thank you. Motion for adjournment? Councillor Penner, second by Councillor Hebert. Call for the question. All's in favor? Thank you. Next council meeting is next Tuesday, or next council meeting is Tuesday, June 20th, 2023.